was inspired, I think at a young age. My uncle was in the engineers in St. Thomas, and spent a lot of time around him, and he always spoke about it. It was always part of his life, and it was a part of what he had that I wanted, even as I grew up as a young child and into my teens. Was probably around the age of 18 that I made the decision that I would go and apply.
My father was a Korean War veteran, and I've had great uncles that were also in the military, and so I almost felt an obligation, not only to family, but to country, to join the military. Sometimes it's within someone when they want to always help someone else, without question. I think that was one of the factors when I joined the military, is that I knew there were people out there that needed a hand up. And as a military personnel, no matter where I'd be able to offer that strength and the stability to help them with that hand up.
Well, I grew up as a military brat, so that's all I knew was the military. I basically grew up in Germany. My father was a Korean veteran. Spent the first 5 years of the 50s with the Royal Canadian Navy, and met my mom, and then I was born in Halifax, and very shortly from there, after that, he released, and we came back to Ontario, but Dad really couldn't adjust to the civilian life, so he rejoined the Royal Canadian Air Force. And 2 short years after that, we moved to Germany. Came home for a brief 2-year period in between, but I basically grew up in Germany on 2 Air Force bases over there. So that's basically all I knew was the military. My 2 uncles were also served. They were in. One uncle, Jack, was in the Queen Zone. He was in Germany as well while we were there. And my uncle Grant also served in the Royal Canadian Navy. So the military was in our family, and I guess I just looked at it and said, well, I guess this is where I'm destined to be. Much to my father's dismay, though, I joined the Army.
I was stopped at an intersection in London. I saw an ad for the reserves on the side of a bus. About 10 minutes later, I went into a coffee shop and ran into a friend of mine that I didn't know was in the reserves. And he informed me about HMCS Prevost, the career opportunities down here, and what the Navy Reserve was all about. Within a week, I came down here and spoke to someone at the ship's office, got an appointment with recruiting, went through the recruiting process. I was successful. Roughly 10 months later, I was in St. Jean-sur-Richelieu, learning how to march and iron and become a soldier.
I'm a reservist. I have been my entire career. Starting back in 1999, I've just hit my 22-year mark. At that time, I was part of the service battalion here in town, and eventually the military police, which I started out with, sort of split off into its own company. So within that, I have the specialty as a close protection operator, and as a result of that specialty, have one operational tour to Tripoli, Libya, which I did in 2014.
I was with the reserves when I first started my career, the first Hussars here in London, a reserve unit within London and Sarnia. A Squadron is in London, C Squadron is in Sarnia. B Squadron was killed in World War II, so there's no longer a B Squadron. And proceeded to stay within the Armored Corps. And when I went regular force, I was with the 8th Canadian Hussars, when then deployed or transitioned to Germany for 4 years. And on my return back to Canada, I was posted to the Royal Canadian Dragoons in Petawawa.
I guess technically I joined in the fall of 1973. I officially started my training 5th of January 1974 in Canadian Forces Recruit School of Cornwallis, which was an eye-opener, to say the least. When I arrived there on the cold, blustery shores of the Bay of Fundy. When I first joined, I was in communications research. But once I got into the training, I realized at 18 years old that wasn't what I wanted to do as a career in the military, and was at a point at that time that I released and got out. Stayed out for about a year and a bit, and then realized that civilian life wasn't my destiny either, and then rejoined the Princess Pats, and ended up out west. Great regiment. I guess I'm a little biased. I mean, there's the other regiments are great as well. Once I got further into my career, as a senior NCO, I started working closely with the Royal Canadian Regiment and the Van Dews, and we're all the same, just came from different regiments. But yeah, it was a great career. It was a great part of my life that I'll always remember and always value. And I'd do it all over again in a heartbeat if I was a younger man.
My current status here at Prevost is that I'm the Marine Diesel Training Unit Coordinator. So with that training unit, we teach the younger members how diesel electric energy is made. And some of our ships are diesel electric, so we prepare them here to go and work in an engine room that uses diesel electric power for propulsion. I've served on the West Coast on HMCS Edmonton. I served on the East Coast on HMCS Moncton. I did 2 civilian tours in Afghanistan embedded with construction engineering, and I've served here in London with HMCS Prevost.
When we look at the units within the London area, we have a variety of different branches within southwestern Ontario, from armored, infantry, service battalion, military police, artillery, and engineers. Each part play a vital role in the brigade, and it allows people to have just a small exposure to if they want to join the military full-time or not. But it also allows individuals to become leaders within our community. And I think our communities actually look at that as if you put on your resume that you have military experience, they automatically attach a leadership role to you, and very disciplined leadership role that you can follow direction sometimes without even blinking an eye.
The London Police Service actually has, quite a long list of successful members who have served, and while serving, so concurrently, going on operation, going to Afghanistan, going to Mali, going to Iraq. We've had members go to the Ukraine. And these are people that are in great positions of leadership, that still serve their community and their country, and I think that's to be, for any reservist who's able to do that, regardless of your profession, just an incredible amount of dedication that you have to this country and this community, and I'm happy to work among some of the best.
If you've ever watched any boot camp movies, I mean, when I went to Saint Jean sur Richelieu, everything you saw in one of those movies was everything that actually happened on your basic training. So they teach you how to iron, they make it stressful. They teach you how to do drill, they make it stressful. The first 3 weeks is a challenge, and as you get to week 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8, you see yourself changing into a service member with all the skills needed to further your career.
When I was posted in Germany from 1987 to 91 was a very complicated time period, because many things were happening during it. From NATO competitions, which I was involved in, the Boslager competition, which is an armored reconnaissance competition. I was on the team for 2 years, which we competed and represented the Canadian forces with other NATO countries. So there was 2 years of that, and you had to be at the top physical fitness at your top. There was also the time the wall came down, Berlin Wall, when we were on exercise. It took the world like a storm, because no one predicted it. Luckily, 6 months prior to that, I had a tour of that wall, and I was actually allowed to go to Checkpoint Charlie, and we had a tour as a Canadian contingent. So seeing that environment changed my whole perspective of how lucky as Canadians we have it. When you are able to witness where a wall separates color to gray, and where everything on one side of the wall is gray. Even the trees, even though they're supposed to be green, they're gray. And then be able to come back to Canada to see such a plethora of different colors throughout the years.
I think one of my biggest memories, fondest memories, is doing our trooping of the colors. You know, where we're, you know, you've got the whole battalion out there on the parade square practicing for weeks on end, and just the you know, the pomp and the ceremony, and it just fills you with, I don't know, maybe a sense of accomplishment that you're really doing something, and you're proud. You're just proud to serve your country. You're proud to stand up there in front of the crowd, and it just, everything comes together. And the one real special memory with the troopings was in 1977, when the 1st Battalion Patricias trooped the colors in McMahon Stadium in Calgary, and we got to meet Lord Louis Mountbatten. And that was, there's a memory on top of my memory banks now. So there would be a favorite memory in my Patricia career.
Having the opportunity to go to the places that I've gone and to meet some people, both in normal circumstances and challenging circumstances, and through all of that, actually coming out at the end with a lot of good, no matter where I've gone and what I've done. And I've been to so many places in the world that I would never be able to go otherwise, from Australia to North Africa. And that in itself is pretty accomplishing, just to be able to move across the globe as I have, and experience those cultures.
So one of my most memorable experiences in Kandahar was teaching the local workers a trade. We had generation technicians, electricians, plumbers, carpenters, and refrigeration technicians. And each one of those groups had 2 or 3 local Afghanis that we trained as apprentices, so they could have a skill.
As a veteran, I have a plethora of different things that are within me, and one is my culture, my Indigenous culture. I am an Algonquin First Nations male. Very proud. I do ceremony when I can. I smudge. I sweat. I try to practice the 7 grandfather teachings. I look at that. Part of my culture is also looking at community. And part of my community in London is the Vimy Legion, which I belong to. And within the Vimy Legion, I'm also the Veterans Service Officer, which allows me to connect with veterans and direct them to get the proper support systems they deserve. Not only them, but their families.
The medals I'm wearing here, the one is of course the CD, Canadian Forces Decoration, and then I've got the UN medal for time served in Cyprus. I did 2 tours in Cyprus, and then the other one is the UN Peacekeeping Medal. And then around my neck, I'm wearing the Order of St. George. The Order of St. George is probably mispronounced this word, the chivalric organization that supports Canadian Forces members, veterans, and their families, and also the cadets.
First, I think we should talk about the rank. So I'm a Petty Officer 2nd class. That's in the Army what they call a sergeant. That's displayed on each arm. On my shirt collar, I have my trade insignia. So I'm a Marine technician, so that's the insignia for Marine technician. My medals from the outside is Canadian decoration. That's given out for 12 years plus of service. The center medal is the Queen's Diamond Jubilee. That was given out in 2011. I think there was 20,000 of those given to service members. And the most inner medal is the General Service Medal for 2 tours as a civilian in Afghanistan.
Normally, when I do interviews, I have my medals on. Unfortunately, due to last minute contact and partially my fault, and is I forgot to wear my medals today. And sometimes there's a reason for it. The creator has told me there's a reason for why I'm not wearing medals. So normally I would have my Canadian decoration, which is 12 years or more of service. I would have my Somalia medal, in which I served in Somalia from 92-93. I would have my NATO medal, which indicates for service in Germany for 4 years, and then would be my peacekeeping medal, which is attached to the Somali medal. So those 4 medals would normally be on my left breast. And I think one of the reasons why I'm not wearing them today is grab awareness to the general public. Because a veteran is not someone that wears their medals throughout the year. It's only one day of the year and very special occasions. Because some veterans may have a trauma that's attached to it, or they just don't want to be in the limelight. Sometimes just thanking them is enough, and acknowledging that they did the ultimate sacrifice.
The medals on my chest, to describe them for you, I currently have 5. I have one on deck, which would end up on the far left, which is a Police Exemplary Service Medal. I'm a civilian police officer in town here with London, and I've completed 20 years service. And to my far left and your right is my Canadian decoration, which I received after 12 years. I just completed 22 years of service, so I'll get another bar on that. Next to that is the Queen's Diamond Jubilee, which I was nominated for by the London Police Association. Next to that is the Governor General's Medal, or for Sovereign's Medal of Volunteers, which I was nominated by the London Police Service for my work in commanding the Color Guard and the volunteer service that goes into that. Next to that is my medal that I received for my operation to Tripoli, Libya, doing close protection work there. And while I was there, I was injured by an act of terrorism. When I returned home, shortly thereafter, I recognized a change in my behavior and was later diagnosed with PTSD, or an operational stress injury. As a result of that, and promise that I made to my family, that I would get better no matter what it took, I ended up getting my service dog Riggs. Riggs and I have been paired together since 2017. I still serve. I still serve as a police officer for the City of London. I instruct recruits, and he comes with me everywhere. And he's quite a little celebrity himself.
I've been involved for quite a number of years now. I believe it's probably 15 or 16 with the Canadian Army Veterans Motorcycle Units of Canada. I am currently the national president. So that keeps me very, very busy. The CAV's motto is to ride, have fun, and help others, and we continue to do that. So that allows me to continue to serve after the military. And by serving, we're helping, bettering the lives of Canadian Forces, serving Canadian Forces members, veterans, their families, those in need. And it's great. It's just, yeah.
After I left the military, I obtained employment within factories. Accurite was one of them. And from there, due to layoffs, I worked my way up to supervision and management. Then came an opportunity to utilize a program within Veterans Affairs referred to as the Vocational Rehab Program. Through that vocational rehab program, I went to Western University, King's College, and obtained an undergrad in social work. But I always knew there was something more. I always use, when I talk to my clients, what's next? 2 words that keeps people moving forward. So then I jokingly applied for a master's degree and was accepted, shockingly. So I obtained my master's degree. I wanted to give back to the veteran community that has given so much to me. So I have a private practice and I became a social worker. So I work with veterans and their families to find stability and closure to move forward and to find a new beginning.
There are a lot of supports out there within the community for veterans. No doubt you'll hear a lot about the Operational Stress Injury Clinic here in town and the amazing therapists and psychologists and nurses, just that care team that's there. There are a lot of sort of veterans groups, motorcycle groups. I myself have a not-for-profit organization, Veterans and Everyday Heroes, that is there to help any veterans or emergency responder in need, and even including helping get service dogs for other veterans. There are so many caring and kind people that I've learned through that work that truly, the majority truly do care for veterans and the work that we've done. And I'm thankful for all those people, and I'm grateful for all my brothers and sisters in uniform.
One of the most amazing things you'll see in the military is the camaraderie and the teamwork. Even after only 8 weeks of working together in basic training, the 40 of us were a pretty cohesive unit, and I don't think you can see that in any other career. It really happens fast in the military and continues through your whole career.
Friendships in the military and friendships that we gain in the military are amazing. Many people have probably seen it written with the wondrous, social media platforms that are out there today, like Facebook and et cetera, where, they state, nothing is better than striking up a conversation after 40 years with somebody that you served in the military with. And it's like you picked up, you seen them yesterday. And so that's not to say that we don't gain and make many great civilian friendships, but that camaraderie that you establish with your brothers and sisters in the military carries on in the civilian life. It carries on after your military career. It never, ever goes away. And it's always there. And the most unique thing is it's even though you haven't seen each other in 40 years, it's like you've seen each other yesterday.
I don't think I would be the only one to tell you that it's the people, ultimately the friendships that you gather along the way. Even experiencing shared hardships, right? That's one thing that really can bring a team together, bring a group of people together. Even in the worst times, there is good to be found in the company that you keep. So definitely something that has really brought me joy over the years, and why I continue to do it is the people that I'm around with, no matter where I've gone and what I've done.
In my career and civilian life, I've gained many types of friendships. And as a veteran, when we retire from the military, we always have one common thing. Sometimes it's not the military that we miss. It's the camaraderie, the brothers and sisters in arms, to support them, to give them that look and that hug. I understand. When they come with any terminology or acronyms, that you just give them the nod. I understand, and I'm here. And it doesn't matter what branch you're from. We're brothers and sisters in arms. And it doesn't matter what trauma you've been through, we're still here for you, and we're your support system. So that's one thing that carries on to my civilian life. And my civilian life has allowed me to obtain friends and support systems, from the Legion to civilian organizations, in which I'm also a Freemason and a Shriner. And within the Shriners, there is a military element called the Legion of Honor. And the Legion of Honor within the Shriners are ex-military people. So understanding that there are components of military throughout our society allows me to have brothers and sisters everywhere.
Well, I think what I'd like people to think about when they see a poppy is supporting service members and their family. It's difficult for the people that are away, and it's difficult for the people at home, and certainly they all need all of Canada's support. It takes a community to raise a child, and it takes a community to keep everyone safe. So,
For me, it's a symbol of sacrifice, and it's also a symbol of hope. It's also a symbol of respect. It's not a symbol of conflict, because, and I've been asked this question recently, in regards to war and service, and I don't think that a soldier wishes for war. So the poppy has never been a symbol of that to me, and I hope it wouldn't be for others, that it's one of respect and of sacrifice and gratitude.
What Remembrance Day means to me is that we take the time to stop, reflect, and remember. Not only remember the people that are currently serving, but also the people that have served and have also paid the ultimate sacrifice. We have such an array of missions that we've been on, but sometimes we're moving forward so fast we forget about the people that we work with, that live around our communities, and are our leaders within all our politics. So it gives us a time to reflect about that. But I ask not for them to stop, only reflect on that one day, but reflect the other 364 days.
I think Remembrance Day is every day of the year for me. But November 11th especially is when I sit back and I reflect on all the Canadian men and women that paid the ultimate sacrifice. We take time that day to remember them, to remember their families, what they did for our country, so that we can live the way that we live today. It also gives us time to think about all of our current serving members. And we have many serving members in different places around the world that are, they're in harm's way right now. And sometimes people kind of lose sight of that. We really didn't lose sight of it when the Afghanistan conflict was on, because it was always there, it was always present. But yeah, we need to sit back and think about our serving members today and what they're doing to ensure that we continue to live free in Canada.